Complete the square part 2 of the method. So at this stage, we are finishing off and finalizing basically solving for x. So we're asked to solve the equation for all values of x in its simplest form. So we have x plus 4 quantity squared equals 81. All right. So when we do this, it's good to recognize that we only see one x, even though it's squared and it kind of gets expanded if we wanted to. Visually, we only see the one x. So basically, if we unfold or undo all the operations, then we have x by itself. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of these exponents. It's basically reverse order of operations. So if there's any add or subtract, we would do that first. Then if there's any multiply or divide, we'd do that. Then it's exponents, which we do have. Then it would be grouping symbols. So we are reversing the order of operations. All right. So how do I get rid of that square? With a, what's the opposite of square? It even has that name in it, square root. Those will undo it. Square root. What do I always tell my students to remember? When we undo a square, we have to remember the plus or minus. And I remind myself, just as side work, if I had x squared equals 4, you should know that the answer is 2 and negative 2. So if I undid the square on the x, I have to add the plus or minus here. That's a 4. So I'll just make that a 4, sorry. So there's a 4 right there. Square root of 4, which is plus or minus 2, right? Plus 2 times plus 2 is 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, all right? So when you undo the square, you have to have the plus or minus. That's the rule. So now we have x plus 4 equals plus or minus, the square root of 81 is 9. And then subtract 4 minus 4. And I get x equals, we have two solutions, negative 4 plus 9 and negative 4 minus 9. We want to finish it off. Negative 4 plus 9 is positive 5. Negative 4 minus 9 is negative 13. So we have two answers, so we would put them in the braces, they're called. So there's our answer. 5, negative 13. I would recommend putting these in order, negative 13, 5, but maybe I'll do that next time. So I already got down the answers. There we go. Yep, 5, negative 13. He did it the same as I did. I like putting it in order, especially if you have more advanced problems. All right, we got some different options here. Rational solutions, that meant it was a nice answer. Irrational solutions, so you're going to have that square root in your answer. No non-real solutions. So let's see what that looks like. That would be an imaginary solution, but usually we don't have imaginary numbers at this set. Let's go ahead and see. Solve the equation for all values of x in its simplest form. So we have x minus 7 quantity squared equals negative 49. So right away, I want you to recognize that this is being squared and it's equal to a negative 49. There's no way in the real numbers set that you can square anything and get an output of negative, right? So logically, this is not even possible. But let's go ahead and go through the steps. So first step is to get x by itself. We do the square root. Always remind yourself of the plus and minus when you undo the square root. We have x minus 7 equals plus or minus square root of negative 49. All right, square root of a negative turns it into the imaginary answer, which would be 7i. But this is no real solution. So it all depends on how advanced we are. If we're talking about imaginary numbers, then we would go ahead and deal with it that way. So if we're not talking about imaginary numbers, we would stop there. Okay, but let me just go ahead and finish it. We'll see what kind of the answer is. Plus or minus 7i, and then add 7, x equals 7 plus or minus 7i. So let's see if that's even possible. 7 plus or minus 7i. All right, so we do have imaginary solutions. In Algebra 1, a lot of times we don't get into the imaginaries. We are in the imaginaries here, and yes, so that is okay. So the idea is when you do the square root of a negative, it comes out as I, and that's what we have here. Square root of a negative comes out as I. Good. The last one is the irrational solutions, and that would just be the square root of 10. We would leave it as square root of 10 when we do it.